that caused some major problem for humanoids. When is the last time?
I think they land and hit the Earth every day. I think there are small asteroids.
That's what I'm
cause
saying.
some
So it's not a
every
problem.
day.
You'll still
Well,
have to do
it's a
sports.
problem
Center.
if it's a big one. If it's the size of Utah, it's a problem. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Steelers deal Minkah Fitzpatrick, Tarek Skubal is almost unhittable, and Carlos Alcaraz struggles. But we begin today with LeBron James opting into a one-year contract with the Lakers for $52.6 million. This is the only time in his career that LeBron has opted into a one-year deal. His agent, Rich Paul, says LeBron knows the Lakers are building for the future, but he wants to win a championship now in what could be the 40-year-old's last year. Wilbon, what does LeBron opting into his final year option say to you?
I have no idea. I've gone back and forth on this since hearing the news, but I have no idea. And unlike you, I don't care to read tea leaves. I don't usually give a damn about what it is that people mean. If it's important enough for me to care, then say what you mean and mean what you say. And we know that LeBron and his camp often, they have this passive-aggressive approach, and they're saying one thing. You got to read it in, social media 4 days later as to what really it means. I don't care. I love seeing LeBron James play basketball, and I'm glad we're going to see it for at least one more year. Don't know beyond that. I really do believe LeBron, like that night when he sat there at the end of the season, he said, I don't know. I don't know yet. That's fair. He's earned the right not to know, my God. But the notion of, look, he wants to win another championship, or so it seems when you listen to Rich Paul. Well, then you might have to do something a little more creative so that you can go out and get another player who might be available, who you might take less money, but you don't owe that. You don't owe anybody to take less money. But if you want a championship, then you might have to arrange it so that you do. But I don't know what he really wants other than to play in the... We know this. Despite what he said last week about ring culture, he wants a ring. And I'm paying no attention to what he said about the culture. He wants a ring, and that's why you play. And he should. That's why we watch him.
Yeah, so I will help you with this as I explain what is going on here. First of all, we all need to agree on one thing. Yeah, we all have to agree on this one thing, which is that LeBron shows no particular loyalty to any franchise. He left Cleveland to go to Miami. He left Miami to go to Cleveland. He left Cleveland to go to the Lakers, did this all on his own. Doesn't mind wearing another jersey. In fact, Mike, by 6:15 tonight, if he finds a deal somewhere and he's got another jersey on, he's going to be fine. Now, we have heard in recent days both Rich Paul and LeBron James be very, very publicly praising of Jeannie Buss. You do that for two reasons. Two things you have to know about that. One is that Jeannie Buss no longer owns the Lakers, really, so it's nice just a pat on the back. But she's out of there. And the second thing that it really says is that LeBron understands that the Lakers in the future belong to Luka Doncic. He's got this 1 year to play if he chooses to play there. It is possible that he will decide, you know what, I don't want to play here anymore. I've got a no trade deal, so I can orchestrate a deal. So now I will give you some teams where he could go. And I think he's going to play the year with the Lakers. But if he chooses not to, where would be spots where he could win right now? Well, one would be Cleveland. One would not be Houston because he's not going to be on the same team as Kevin Durant. One might be Denver if you could work that out. One might be San Antonio, and one might be the Knicks. Think of the feather in LeBron's cap if he won a championship with the Lakers and with the Knicks. That would be something, right? Could go. That's what I'm saying.
It would be, but I don't know how the Knicks give up. You got to get $50 million going the other way. And then you have, I'm not saying it's impossible because LeBron's still great. He's still great. Okay. Tony,
that's right.
The finances, the economic situation.
He makes every one of those teams a championship contender, and he helps the league by doing it.
Yeah,
Let's
but you
talk
have
about
to
a football
not
trade.
Hold on. I'm not letting that go. He
You
doesn't
said you
make
didn't
him a
know
contender
anything.
if they
I'm
have
explaining
to.
it.
If they, no, I'm saying I don't know what he's talking about. I know what I'm talking about. If you have to send so much back to the Lakers that you don't have enough to contend, then he doesn't make them a contender. If you have to give up so much with that $50 million to the Lakers, who are not going to just sit there and say we're in a charity case, then he doesn't make them a contender. And that's what the economic situation does that Windhorst comes on this show and tells us about all the time. So what he's talking about and the reality of today's NBA, they may not line up. So I don't know that he can make them contenders or not.
Let's just get out of it. Let's just get out of this story with this question. Do you think LeBron James will play the entire season this year with the Los Angeles Lakers? Yes or no?
I think so. I'll give you one other team, only one.
Okay.
Golden State.
Let's
Golden
talk
State.
Let's talk about a football trade that happened earlier today. Let's get off this. We're talking about a football trade.
That's fine.
The Steelers traded three-time All-Pro safety Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins for three-time All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey and tight end Jonnu Smith. Wilbon, we have been awash in NBA drafts and trades and signings. What does this NFL trade say to you?
Well, Tony, I go straight to the Steelers, and as to quote you, I'm going to the glasses. Because I look at what the Steelers have been doing this offseason, and they go and they get DK Metcalf, they sign Darius Slay, they trade for Jonnu Smith. Of course, but the two biggest parts of this are Aaron Rodgers for 1 year and dealing away Minkah Fitzpatrick, which if we listen to people talk about the Steelers and former Steelers who are on the air talk about the Steelers, and people who are with the Steelers talk about the Steelers, Minkah Fitzpatrick, while his production might have declined, is the heart and soul of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers don't go out and do things that seem just irrational things. They don't do that. The Steelers are studied and fairly predictable, and that's one of the reasons they win. They stick to, I don't want to say a script, but to a personality that fits who they are. I don't get most of that. And so I don't know what this means. Jalen Ramsey, okay, he's really good for a while, and maybe he has a season or two left in him. But Tone, he's been overstated like so many of these cornerbacks who are great for 3 or 4 years, and then, like Revis Island, they're here in the Hall of Fame and they're gone tomorrow. He's like that.
Yeah.
So the Steelers, I'm going, whoa, what are they doing?
Mike. This is fine. You didn't know with LeBron, you don't know with the Steelers. I'm here to explain it to you. My ears perk up every time the Steelers are mentioned and they do something like this now. Why? Because of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, who is now publicly saying this is probably his last year. So no team in the league has a more urgent time to win than the Steelers, which is why they do these things. They're not looking at Jalen Ramsey for 8 years. They're looking at winning this year. Jonnu Smith last year, he's a tight end. Maybe the Steelers don't think that Aaron Rodgers can go deep down the field anymore, so they want to keep a couple of really good tight ends. He had 88 catches last year, 884 yards and 8 touchdowns. Mike, those were Dolphin records, all-time records for a tight end. Again, an urgency of right now. Now, to get to the other part of this, we all have to take a step back because these are the Steelers, and we have to ask ourselves, does this feel like the Steelers to us? Does this feel like Mike Tomlin to us? And then that voice inside of our heads comes out, and this is what the voice says, a familiar line. Buckle up. I think it's going to be a bumpy ride. That's what's going on.
But is that the Steelers to you? Is that the Steelers?
Did I just say no? I said no. But it's who they are right now. Because they have to win right now. Trying to win.
But trying to win. They got to win right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers?
Because of Aaron Rodgers, 1 year. He's a 1 year rental. They want him to be Kawhi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Have some ayahuasca and let's go to baseball. 3 noteworthy numbers from Sunday's games. 13 is the number of strikeouts thrown over 7 innings by reigning AL Cy Young winner Tarik Skubal in the Tigers' 3-0 win over the Twins. I watched a lot of that game. 2 is the number of home runs Aaron Judge hit in a win over the A's, lifting him to 30 on the season. And 4 is the number of intentional walks earned by your boy James Wood of the Nats, the most in a single game since Barry Bonds 21 years ago. Tony, which of these is the most impressive number to you?
All right, so I'm eliminating Aaron Judge right away, not because I don't like him. I love him. He's great. No. But because this is the 5th time already this season, just to the end of June, where he's had multiple homer games. If he had hit 3, I would have said, okay, you got me, it's 3, but he didn't. He hit 2. I watched a lot of the Tarik Skubal game as well. He's great. I guess he struck out 8 of the first 9, 9 of the first 11. He struck out every single twin in the lineup, every single one, which doesn't happen very often. And yeah, maybe he's headed for another side. Looks like it's either him or Max Fried in the American League. But you know that I follow the Nationals and I know about James Wood. The Nationals have a treasure in James Wood at the moment. 4 intentional walks is insane. You said before it's the first time rather, since Barry Bonds in 2004. Barry Bonds at that point, Mike, in his career, had 658 home runs. James Wood has 31. That's all he's got is 31. So that's elite company. The strategy is simple. Nobody else on the Nats can really hurt you. James Wood has 22 home runs this year. Maybe Nathaniel Lowe can hurt you. So you put him on base and the team doesn't beat you, but they beat him anyway in extra innings. Yeah.
All right, the answer to this question is Scooble. But you went over that so well, I'm not going to go back. I'm just going to go back to something you said. James Wood is a treasure. Does that mean, one, you stunned me with that. 2, does that mean like every other great Nationals player, he's out the door in 2 years to make $1 billion somewhere else with the Mets or Philly? His statistics,
he has played 163 games in the major leagues. As of 162, he had 31 homers and 105 RBI. Juan Soto, 31 and 107. Bryce Harper, 31 and 77. And they lost those two. You cannot lose this guy. Let's take a break. Coming up, the U.S. men beat Costa Rica in the Gold Cup, but was there a more notable soccer result yesterday?
And Novak Djokovic says this Wimbledon might be his best shot at major number 25. It sounds like Wood will be gone before I can get back to Washington to even go buy a ticket to see him.
Can't lose.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by...
Time to find out what the rabble's babbling about in mail time. Let me see what's first here. More notable, the U.S. men beating Costa Rica in the Gold Cup or Lionel Messi and Inter Miami getting crushed by PSG in the Club World Cup?
Tony, you know it's Messi and Inter Miami getting crushed. We talked about this on your podcast this morning and live time yesterday on the phone. Tony, remember how in the old days, the greatest players would sit by their locker and they would have clippings of newspapers and they could see what the other... What? Messi and Inter Miami, and they scored 4 goals. They could have scored 8. They had mercy in the second half. That beat down. I realized the other game might have been more significant, but it was watching PSG beat down Messi in Miami.
I seem to recall that on Friday we did a preview segment of this, and you said you thought PSG might not even care about this. And you said even if PSG loses, it wouldn't be a big deal in Europe because everybody in Europe would know that they didn't put a full effort into this. And then I asked you who's going to win. And very tentatively, you said to me, I think PSG is going to win.
That's exactly right.
And I thought he's not really believing in this. Yeah, 1-0, 5 minutes in, 4-0 into the fourth. The other game, don't tell me about beating Costa Rica. Let me know when they make the finals. Here we go, next one. Novak Djokovic says this Wimbledon may be his best chance remaining to win a 25th major. What chance are you giving him?
I'll give him 15%. Just somebody else could beat Alcaraz and or Sinner and lead from a path. We've seen this. You covered Wimbledon. You saw people like Johnny Mack and Connors and guys who played great on grass, though not Borg early and not Federer early. But we've seen some of the greats lose early on grass. And I think that would have to happen, Tony, because I don't think the Joker can beat Sinner or Alcaraz in this tournament. 15% if somebody else takes them out.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm a little surprised Djokovic said this because he's got 7 Wimbledons, but he's got 10 Australians. I guess he's sort of convinced because he's been in the finals at Wimbledon the last 6 years. But the last 2 years, he's lost to Alcaraz. I know Alcaraz had trouble in the first round, but Alcaraz, then I take it, is playing in this tournament. Because if he's there, that's trouble for Djokovic. And Djokovic would have to beat Sinner in the semis. The last time they played in the semis was about a week and a half ago at the French, and Sinner won in straight sets. So, yeah, if Djokovic wins this, retire on the spot, all the glory in the world, because I don't think you can beat them both. Enough email.
Yeah.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Mets get right back to swooning.
and as trade partners begin to sniff around. Should the Steelers again, consider dealing TJ Watt? The Steelers, they're Monty Hall.
Are they sniffing around like vultures on dead animals? Is that what we think?
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Charles Schwab. Own your tomorrow.
Happy time, people. Happy 60th birthday, Mitch Richmond. The Hall of Fame guard was 1/3 of the Golden State Warriors' exciting 1990s Run TMC offense with Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin. Richmond was a 6-time NBA All-Star, 5 times with the Sacramento Kings, who retired Richmond's number 2. Richmond was NBA Rookie of the Year in 1989, then waited 13 years to get a ring. He was a reserve on the 2002 Lakers, and it was Richmond who dribbled out the clock as the Lakers completed a 4-game sweep of the Nets. Richmond won a bronze medal as a collegian in the 1988 Olympics, then won gold with NBA players in the 1996 Olympics.
Tony, I know they didn't win anything, but 3 of my favorite players in, I don't know, the last 35 years in the NBA are those 3 you just mentioned with Run TMC. They were so exciting. They were a big man away from stuff, but I loved watching all 3 of them and got to know Mitch Richmond, and happy birthday indeed.
Happy anniversary, Dave Stewart and Fernando Valenzuela. This is posthumous for Valenzuela. But around this date 35 years ago, both men pitched no-hitters on the same day. It was the first time that happened since 1898. Stewart, pitching for the A's, no-hit the Blue Jays 5-0 in Toronto. Hours later, in 2,500 miles to the west, Valenzuela in Dodger Blue no-hit the Cardinals 6-0. ESPN had a good day, broadcasting both no-hitters back-to-back. This was at the tail end of Valenzuela's legendary career with the Dodgers. It was likely Stewart's top regular season accomplishment, though he has 3 World Series rings.
Tony, I'm glad you said regular season, because Stewart went on, of course, to win a World Series with Toronto after winning one with the A's and one previously earlier in his career with the Dodgers.
Yeah. A melancholy trails Dave Parker. The terrific right fielder passed away on Saturday at the age of 74, just 1 month before he was due to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Known as the Cobra, Parker played 19 seasons in the majors, peaking with the Pirates in the late 70s when he won 2 batting titles, an MVP, and a World Series. He won another championship while on the A's in 1989. Parker stood 6'5", was also a terrific fielder with a huge arm, on display here throwing out Brian Downing at the plate in the 1979 All-Star Game.
Tony, you know, I watched some clips on Dave Parker last night and stories, and he came into baseball with the pressure of playing right field in Pittsburgh, which is where the great Roberto Clemente played.
Yes.
And he talked about Willie Stargell, Hall of Fame teammate, saying to him, don't worry about it. You can't follow Clemente. You just got to be you, Dave Parker. But when you see Dave Parker with that cannon of an arm throwing out of right field, how do guys like you and I not think of Clemente? And he upheld the position of right field in Pittsburgh. It's impossible, but he did it.
100% agree with that. And also a melancholy trails to D. Wayne Lucas. The legendary racehorse trainer died Saturday night at the age of 89. Of his nearly 5,000 wins, Lucas's horses won 4 Kentucky Derbies and 15 Triple Crown races overall, including 6 consecutive he entered with 4 different horses spanning 1994 to 1996. Out of college, Lucas taught at a high school, coached the basketball team for 9 years until his side hustle proved more lucrative, and he started training horses full-time at the age of 32.
Tony, how about that? At the behest of the great Andrew Beyer, our colleague and friend of many decades, I had a conversation with D. Wayne Lucas at Churchill Downs once. It was all about basketball, him talking about it being his first love and coaching in high school and how he just couldn't get out of his blood. He was close with Bob Knight and lots of others, and that was a fascinating thing for him to be that neck deep in more than one sport.
His nickname was the Coach. Let's go quickly to the big finish. The Trailblazers bought out DeAndre Ayton. The Bulls traded Lonzo Ball. The Jazz traded Colin Sexton. Most surprising move, quick.
Maybe Ayton, Tony. He's been in the finals. He can help somebody. Lakers, maybe, if they had any money. James Harden declined his one-year option with the Clippers, but has reportedly agreed to a 2-year extension worth up to $81.5 million. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Of course, he got 2 years' money instead of one. Free agent guard Malik Beasley under investigation for allegations of gambling on NBA games. Your thoughts?
He has not been charged, but it has our attention. The Mets got swept by the Pirates. How bad was that, Tony?
This bad, outscored 30-4. Last one, Adam Schefter reports teams are discussing trying to trade for T.J. Watt. Think the Steelers will listen?
I'm going to start where we started this story, started this show. I have no idea what the Steelers are doing. Maybe they will listen. Unthinkable, but maybe.
We're out of time. Trying to do better than that.
I'm Mike Lobach saying time tomorrow, knuckleheads. Fear asteroids? I'm Tony Kornheiser. If the big one hits, just please let it happen before we have to take the Sports Center segment. So all I'm asking now, I want to hear how bad you can go out. You know what? An asteroid. When is the last time that caused some major problem for humanoids?
This topic.
All right, Wilbon, after all the Steelers' offseason moves, what chance do you give them to be a playoff team?
Tony, I wrote down the teams in the AFC that I think are going to make the playoffs and teams that I think would make it ahead of Pittsburgh. And in their own division, goodness knows Cincinnati coming off these last 2 seasons better make the playoffs or heads are going to roll. I believe Cincinnati and Baltimore are in their own division, right? Even if Aaron Rodgers is really good, and I don't know about that, he's the third best quarterback in the division. The Chiefs and the Bills, they're going to make the playoffs outside of catastrophe. Right. They're going to make the playoffs ahead of them. Tony, I also, somebody's got to win the division in the South. The Texans, to me, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Denver Broncos, who I think are really going to be better. Tony, that exhausts the number of teams. And the Steelers made it last year at 10-7. Also, somebody's got to win the division in the South. The Texans, to me, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Denver Broncos, who I think are really going to be better. Tony, that exhausts the number of teams. And the Steelers made it last year at 10-7. And they lost to Baltimore. There's no shame in that. But Tony, they're really going for it in a way that seems to go against the personality of the great Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know what they're doing, and I think it's fair to wonder if they know what they're doing. I give them about a 25% chance of making the playoffs. No more than that.
Yeah, you're. I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers one last time because I find him to be a fascinating product. I do. And I agree with you that it's unlike the Steelers. It's unlike Tomlin. There's talk about them trading T.J. Watt. I mean, it's like everybody wants to know what kind of deal the Steelers are going to make, and they're under an urgency to perform that we have never seen with Tomlin and we have never seen with the Steelers. And in that division, you're right. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's not as good a quarterback right now as Joe Burrow. He's not as good a quarterback right now as Lamar Jackson. But I'm old. And, I remember his glorious times. And so I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. I'm saying I want to watch them. The first 5 or 6 weeks, if you give me a steady diet of them, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I hear that. There's a curiosity about that, I hear. Yeah. You stunned me when you said for the third time Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. I thought Greeny had popped into the other side of the set and we were on Get Up. Because, that's the official show of Aaron Rodgers. Man, Tony, we're both curious. That's where it starts.
Yeah, curious.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're done. Back to you.